I've been doing some thinking. I use Gmail a lot more than iCloud. I use Google Drive a lot more than iCloud Drive. In fact, I don't use iCloud Drive at all. Um, but I do use Google Drive. I've used Docs in the past considerably more than Pages. The only reason I've been using Pages as of late is compatibility with my instructor's computers. Even though my university uses Google services as well. So going forward, I think I'll probably be switching, especially in group projects, to Google Docs because it's much more easy to collaborate that way. I'm on Google Plus. It's sort of a toss-up between Google and Facebook as to which one I usually check. Lately it's been both. Apple doesn't really have a social network, so that's kind of moot. I use Google Translate to communicate with friends across the world using Hangouts. And Hangouts is a lot more readily available versus only a select handful of my friends that have iMessage. So Google, all of Google's services are online. To be honest, our world is online these days. If you were to disconnect, you would essentially be the equivalent of a caveman. And I'm not saying that there aren't times when you shouldn't disconnect. There certainly are. But I'm saying in your day-to-day work kind of situations, or getting your news, it's getting to the point where if you do get offline, then you are going to end up living under a rock for the most part. So I've realized that lately I've been using Google services considerably more. Even on my iPhone, I'll end up going to YouTube, or I'll end up going to Google Plus, or I'll end up going to to other Google services. And my contract isn't up until December of next year, and I'm more than able to keep it. I looked this up before making the video. Verizon has eliminated contracts, but if you still have them, you can use them. That being said, if you want a new device, I'm not sure where the subsidies are going. I don't think they're going to exist anymore. And I'm not comfortable paying up for a phone on an installment plan, because if something goes wrong, what's going to happen. I'd much rather pay for my phone outright. To that end, if we take a look, and obviously I'm on YouTube. Forgot to mention that. Well, you knew that. Anyway, so we take a look here. This is the Nexus 6P, and I selected the 64 gig aluminum for $549. This is completely unlocked, and it's got the necessary radio in it to where it'll work on Verizon, but you need the IMEI number for it to work. That being said, it's interesting because this is a very high-end, very premium device running a stock version of Google Android Marshmallow for $599. It's got a fingerprint sensor. It's got some really nice high-end specs that are pretty level with the iPhones. It's got USB-C, which is, over the next year, I can see USB-C showing up on a lot more devices. It'll be interesting to see if Apple decides to do that with their own iPhone. I don't know. I'm not about to say yes or no to any of that, but yeah. So this is a really nice little handset for $549 for 64 gigs. Now, if we take a look at that versus the iPhone 6S Plus, and this would be the same price as the 6 Plus was when it was new. Pay in full. Because again, I don't think Verizon has the subsidies anymore. They only have the installment plan or pay outright. $849. So there's a $300 price bump, and for $849, you could very easily get a high-end Windows PC or maybe a used iMac. So $849 for a phone, whereas Google is offering a similar device for $300 less. You know, it's to be honest, it's crazy. Having read that Verizon was going to dump their contract system, I began to look a lot more closely at the upfront price of phones and was really shocked, to be honest. So, you know, over the next year, it'll be interesting to see what happens. But unless Apple does something really creative with their iPhones and gets the outright price down by at least $100 or $200, you know, a lot of people, I think, are going to end up going to Android. And a lot of people are saying, well, you could take the 6S for considerably less money. Well, let's try that. Let's go to Apple and go to the 6S. Yeah, let's change that. There we go. So we'll go to the 6S, and there is no, if we go to change this, there is no 32 gig option. So we're going to say 64 gigs just to keep things level. Okay, so we have the iPhone 6S at 64 gigs. Same thing with Verizon. That's only $100 difference. Whereas, if we go for the Nexus equivalent, which is the Nexus 5X, give me just a moment to find it. Here we go. So Nexus 5X. So we'll go ahead and start this up. Same deal. So just to equate the memory. Aha! What have we here? Apparently, the iPhone does not have a 32 gig option, and the Nexus does not have a 64, so we're going to have to fix that. Let's do that. So 16 gigs iPhone 6S, okay? This is the bottom of the barrel, and they want $649 for this. Nexus 5X, the equivalent, which is the lower end of the two Nexi, 16 gigs, $379. It's just incredible. Now, granted, this doesn't have the aluminum back, and the specs are slightly lower end. But at the same time, again, $300 difference? Really? It's going to be interesting to see what happens in the phone industry in the next year. But at the moment, I'm going to be watching this very, very closely. Also, there have been some apps released recently on Android that equalizes the accessibility field, if you will, for my needs as somebody with vision loss. So the advantages of iOS are not so clear and dry as they used to be. And with the $300 price difference, I don't know, but at the moment I could see myself going back to Android simply for the price. But what do you guys think? Thank you for watching. Comments are welcome, and have a nice day.